I thought giving her everything would protect her. A good school, 2 housemaids, even her own bathroom. But at just 14, she came home pregnant. I wept, not because I was angry, but because I realized I gave her the world and lost her soul. And it wasn't just her. Dozens of children, privileged, polished, yet broken, addicted, lost, empty. This story isn't fiction. It's a cry for help. Please, watch to the end. It may save a child's life, maybe even yours. Samobaba Tales, African folk tales, stories that heal, truths that wake us up. I shut my office door and wept. I couldn't hold back the tears, especially after stepping into the female hostel, now overcrowded. The air was heavy, not just with heat, but with something darker, pain, silence, secrets. Every single girl under our care this session was under 25. Some were just 12. And here's what broke my heart even more. None of these girls were rescued from the streets. Every one of them was brought in by their own parents. Yes, their own mothers and fathers. I buried my face in my hands and whispered, God, what have we done? It was during bag inspection that we discovered the signs. Rolling papers, pregnancy test, coated vials, wraps of crushed pills hidden inside makeup kits. At first, we thought it was a mistake, that maybe, just maybe, a few rebellious girls had found ways to sneak them in. But as the hours passed and more bags were opened, it became clear. This was a pattern, an epidemic, a culture. This wasn't just about bad children. This was about broken homes, indulgent parenting, and a generation slipping into the shadows while we looked the other way. I remember one girl in particular, Kate. She was barely 13, but when I spoke to her, her voice was hollow, tired, like someone 3 times her age. She wouldn't meet my eyes. When I asked her why she was always alone, she said, Nobody cares. They just pay my school fees and send me here. I had to excuse myself. I went into the restroom and wept again. That evening, I wrote in my journal, We're raising children with full stomachs and empty souls. The boys' hostel wasn't any better. We found a boy with a ritual soap wrapped in a red cloth. Another had a list of incantations written in his notebook. Some even confessed to selling pills on campus to other students just to maintain the flashy lifestyle they saw online. These weren't children from slums. No, these were children of privilege, well-fed, well-dressed, but empty, hollow, wild. I stared at one boy and asked, why? He looked me dead in the eye and said, Nobody taught us anything real. It broke me because he was right. These children weren't born monsters, they were made. We gave them devices but no direction, money but no morals, freedom but no foundation. We replaced family altars with Netflix, turned discipline into abuse, and called silence peace. And now we are seeing the result. I called a staff meeting and begged the team. We must do more than teach subjects. We must teach values, restore broken hearts, and be the voice these children no longer hear at home. The turning point for me came when I visited a boy named Simon in the sickbay. He had overdosed on a combination of energy drinks and pills, just 16, yet already walking the edge. I asked him, What were you trying to escape from? He replied, myself. He told me he had been watching pornography since he was 9. Nobody had ever stopped him. When he confessed to his mother once, she laughed and said, Boys will be boys. That day I cried again, not just for Simon, but for every mother who thought love meant silence. That night I couldn't sleep. I opened my window and watched the stars. I thought about my own children, my own home. Had I been present enough? Had I listened? Had I truly been a parent or just a provider? The weight of my responsibility settled on my chest like iron. I knew many of these parents had started with good intentions, but somewhere along the way, convenience replaced connection. Laughter was traded for likes. Love became transactions. The children noticed, and they drifted. The next day, I visited 3 different families whose children had been suspended. The parents were shocked, confused. One mother cried, "But I gave her everything." And I replied, "Except your time." Another father said, "He never told me anything." I said, "Because he thought you wouldn't care." We have a generation of children being raised by gadgets and validated by strangers. Their real guardians are Instagram likes, WhatsApp groups, and TikTok trends. Meanwhile, their souls starve for guidance, for truth, for someone to say, "This is the way, walk in it." I went out one day to talk to a parent as regards what the problem would have been. What ended the strict parental training we received while growing up. Then she began to weep and said she did not want her daughter to pass through what she went through while growing up. She said she ensured her daughter never lacked anything. She got her into the best secondary school in Lagos and got her 2 maids to take care of her. I just returned from my foreign trip when I discovered a feverish attitude for my daughter. I took her to the hospital the next day. I was told by the doctor who confirmed she was pregnant, a 14-year-old girl. I got the pregnancy removed and ensured we had a family planning insemination on her. I was shocked. A 14-year-old girl and having a family planning? What happened to sex education? What happened to communication and saying no? I began holding weekly mentorship sessions, not just for students, but for parents. The first few weeks, only 6 parents showed up. But after I shared a viral story of a boy who died during a secret initiation, the numbers grew. Some parents wept openly. Others confessed that they too were lost, raising children without ever having been raised themselves. I looked at them and said, "It's not too late. We can still win this war, but we must first admit that we've been asleep, and it's time to wake up." One day, a girl named Franca walked up to me after our chapel service. She held my hand and said, "Thank you for seeing us." I asked her what she meant. She said, "You look at us like we matter, like we're not mistakes." That night, I wept again, but not out of regret. This time, it was hope. Maybe we couldn't save everyone, but we could save someone. And if every adult woke up to that truth, if every parent decided to be present, to speak, to discipline with love, to lead, then maybe, just maybe, we could reclaim this lost generation before it's too late. It wasn't long before the backlash came. A few students, especially those who hated the sudden structure, began spinning stories. One boy claimed I was secretly spying on them at night. A girl accused me of invading their privacy with constant checks. The whispers grew louder. A few parents, still blind to the reality of their children, came storming into my office, shouting, demanding explanations. They called me harsh, accused me of humiliation. One even said I was damaging her daughter's self-esteem. I sat there silently and let them rant, but inside I felt the weight again. Then came the real blow. A trio of girls fabricated a story so vile it got escalated to the board. They claimed I laid hands on them. They cried, acted well, even brought in fellow students to back them up. It nearly cost me my job. I was suspended for a week while investigations took place. Alone in my room, I knelt and cried, "God, if I'm wrong, judge me. But if I'm not, please vindicate me." I remembered Franca's words, "You look at us like we're not mistakes." That gave me strength. I wasn't fighting them. I was fighting for them. The truth came out slowly but surely. One of the girls, pressured by conscience, confessed in front of the school counselor. She broke down and said they were told by some seniors to frame me, that they wanted to teach me a lesson for being too strict. The news reached the board. I was reinstated. Apologies were made, but the damage to trust remained. Still, I forgave. I told them in assembly, discipline without forgiveness breeds bitterness, and leadership without truth is tyranny. Let's walk this journey together. That day, something shifted. Surprisingly, some of the same students who had once lied against me began attending our mentorship sessions. Quietly, humbly. They sat in the back, listened. One boy, Titus, came to me after a session and said, "Sir, I'm sorry for what I said. I was wrong." I didn't respond with anger. I put my hand on his shoulder and said, "Then let's start again." We talked. He shared his brokenness, his absent father, his confused mother, his search for identity online. He asked me, "Will I ever be okay?" I smiled. "Yes, because you're willing to change." Parents too began transforming. One mother who used to argue during PTA meetings now led a parenting prayer group. A father who once descended his son blindly showed up to Saturday volunteer cleanup with the boy. Slowly, families started reconnecting. Phones were put down during dinners. Prayers returned to homes. Boundaries were discussed. One girl told me, "My dad now hugs me and says he loves me. He never did that before." I smiled. This was what redemption looked like, not perfection, but intentional effort. Our school adjusted policies, not just enforcing discipline, but building relationships. We started family check-in days. Parents had to spend one full day in school with their children every term. At first, it was awkward, but soon it became a highlight. Fathers played football with their sons. Mothers cooked with their daughters. Teachers sat with families and talked. Real talk. We laughed. We cried. We healed. One parent whispered to me, "Thank you. I almost lost my son, but now I'm learning to be a father again." More students began opening up. The addictions didn't vanish overnight. The wounds didn't heal instantly, but the process had begun. A culture of honesty was being birthed. We introduced skill-building Saturdays, baking, tailoring, carpentry, coding. Students discovered purpose beyond screens. One boy said, "I never thought I could use my hands for anything good." Now, he makes shoes.
Beautiful ones. His mother cried when he gifted her a pair. She said, "This is better than any iPhone." I sat in my office one quiet evening and smiled. The girl who once lied about me walked past my window and waved. I waved back, not because I forgot, but because I forgave. She now mentors juniors, sharing her story and warning them. The irony wasn't lost on me. Sometimes the greatest warriors come from the darkest pits. I thanked God, not for the pain, but for the redemption after it. We were changing, one soul at a time. At the year-end Thanksgiving service, students gave testimonies. Some cried, some laughed, but one girl's words echoed loudest. She said, "This school saved my life, but more than that, God used it to save my family." Parents wept. I wept too, not because we had achieved something great, but because we had returned to something old, something true. Discipline, love, responsibility, respect, truth, all restored. And we saw the results with our eyes. Now, when I shut my office door, I no longer weep in pain. I smile in gratitude, because redemption came. Not perfectly, not painlessly, but powerfully. If you're reading this, dear parent, I leave you with this. Your child doesn't just need your money. They need your heart, your time, your presence. If we all rise
teachers, parents, mentors, and refuse to give up, we will see change. One home at a time. One child at a time. Redemption is possible, and it begins with you. A generation is not lost when they make mistakes. A generation is lost when no one is willing to guide them back. This heart-wrenching story reminds us that our children don't just need comfort and luxury. They need love, presence, values, and truth. We are not raising bodies. We are shaping destinies. When parents substitute provision for parenting and society replaces truth with trends, children drift, not because they are evil, but because they are empty. But hope is not gone. Redemption is still possible. It starts with presence. It thrives with intentional parenting. It grows through open communication and shared values. Let us remember, raising a child is not about giving them the world, but giving them yourself. Have you looked into your child's soul lately? Have you listened beyond their silence? Have you been present, not just around? If this story moved your heart, don't let it end here. Subscribe to Samobaba Tales, African Folktales, for more powerful, real-life inspired stories that awaken, heal, and transform. Share this story with every parent, teacher, and guardian you know. Let's reclaim our children, one heart at a time.